And Lindor blasts one to deep right field. Back goes Stowers at the wall. It's out of here. Francisco Lindor with his first home run of the year. And he gets the Mets off to a fast start. 2-1 Miami. So Lindor gets a leadoff hit in the first inning for a 5th consecutive game, and this time he circles the bases. 34th at bat of the year, his first home run.
Had a 3-1 count, Gare, and the ball will go out to right field. Left field, you're going to need a howitzer to get it out. And he crushed that one.
21st career leadoff home run for Lindor, his 3rd as a Met. And now Juan Soto, who had 2 hits last night, including an RBI double that gave the Mets their first run. And he takes a slider up and in for ball 1.
3-1 count, gets a fastball, belt high. He was just waiting on it. So Gillespie's up in the strike zone early. Then his fastball.
Two coming, and Soto rips that one into right field for a base hit. He came back with a sweeper, and Soto reaching base safely now for the 11th straight game to start the year with a 2-out single.
And you can just tell, at least I feel, this is my feeling, is that Soto's not really right, and he still gets his hit. Now talk about widespread stance. I mean, look how widespread his feet are. Look at that.
With very little stride.
Yep, and he bends that back knee.
Nobody has better hip rotation than he does. And Senger lines one into left field, breaks his bat and gets himself a base hit. And the Mets have the leadoff man on in the home 5th.
Well, stay level, and the bat shatters. Strong enough to get it out there.
Well, might not have been the first time that anybody said this about anybody, but it was a great line. Joe Adcock saying trying to sneak a fastball by Hank Aaron's like trying to sneak the sunrise past a rooster. Mishandled by Mervis on the grounder by Lindor, and the Mets have 2 men on. Mervis was thinking about throwing that ball to second base before he had it in his glove, and the error puts 2 men on.
Oh boy, that's a double play right there. Second error of the ball game.
So now Juan Soto will come up with first and second and nobody out with a chance to untie this game. Senger at third, Lindor at second, Alonso at first with 1 out. Infield in for Nimmo, and he cracks one out to left field. That'll get the run, and at least Cohen chasing back. He won't get it. It's up against the wall. Senger is in. Lindor right behind him. Alonso stops at third. Brandon Nimmo cashes in 2 with an opposite field double, and the Mets go in front 4-2. After a frustrating night last night and a fruitless at bat with a runner in scoring position in the 3rd, Nimmo gets another crack at it, and he comes through.
Hanging slider going the other way. Now look how shallow Cohen is playing. That is a fly ball that could have been caught. But the Marlins have been playing a very shallow outfield, and they got caught this time.
Well, Brandon
Hill started the great gold rush.
Little floater to shallow right field, and Lopez can't get it. Base hit. Alonso is in. Here comes Nimmo. A bloop single by Marte drives in 2, and it's 6-2 New York. Make contact and good things happen. Marte floated it just beyond the reach of Otto Lopez to drive in a pair.
Well, the Mets have had three runs that have been on bloops.
Remember this inning. And Beatty slaps one on the ground. Paulie toward the line. 1-hop throw, not in time, and it gets away from Mervis. And Beatty's safe at first with an infield hit.
Well, Beatty needed that one, and that's when you play that big shift. You know, not long ago, that would have been a 5-3 on your scorecard.
Now Luis Angel Acuna will run for Beatty and then take over at second base to tighten up the defense. So you got a base stealer on first. Hayden Senger is the batter. Senger had a broken bat hit to left field in the 5th. That was the keynote in a 4-run inning. Acuna measures his lead at first base, and Senger pushing the bunt. Nice bunt. And Hicks with an off-balance throw, and he got him at first base. I don't know how, but he did.
Get the pitchers, get the heck out of the way.
Curry was in his way. Hicks falling on his face. Somehow was able to get enough on this throw. The Mets are going to challenge the call at first base.
He's safe.
He looks like he was.
Gosh.
So the Mets might get this call going in their direction. Adrian Johnson, the crew chief, made that call at first base, but it looks like it might get overturned.
That would be the second one. It'll be overturned on Adrian Johnson. He missed a call in the game last night on a stolen base.
Play under review presented by Citizens, making sense of the play. Marvin Hudson and Todd Tishner are the crew chiefs in the replay center. And I think Hayden Senger is going to get a bunt hit out of this.
Yes, he is. Yep.
Certainly there's very little doubt that this will get overturned.
So the Marlins are just playing terrible defense.
It was a beautiful bunt by Senger.
It was a beautiful bunt, but you got to make that play. It's the big leagues.
So the Mets challenged successfully once again. I believe they're 4 for 4 this year. Is that right? And with first and third and one out, they bring in the new pitcher Ronnie Enriquez, and they're going to walk Juan Soto intentionally to load the bases for Alonso and push a runner into scoring position. Fascinating. So the Mets' hottest hitter in the lineup, Pete Alonso, gets cracked with the bases loaded after an intentional walk to Soto.
Wow. Make like Sergeant Schultz.
And again, they bring the infield in with the bases loaded and one out against Alonso. What is going on? Why would you set up the double play and then not play for the double play? Something is askew. And by the way, that's lined toward the gap in left center field, and that's going to clear the bases. Acuna scores. Senger scores. Here comes Soto. He will score. Alonso foils the strategy with a 3-run double. He's got a 4 RBI day, and the Mets again have a 4-run lead. It's 9-5. Now Pete Alonso's off to a rip-roaring start.
Fastball right down the old Piperoni. Down.
And do you see how shallow the center fielder was playing?
They've been playing shallow.
I mean, against Pete Alonso? What are you doing? Here's Brandon Nimmo. I mean, it's like they're trying to reinvent the game. The game is the game.
Right, split the plate right down the middle, and the Mets are all over it.
Chance for more with Acuna at third and one out for Lindor. And Francisco drives one out to center. That'll get the run in. Hill goes back to get it. Acuna can walk on in. Sacrifice fly for Lindor, his second run batted in of the day. So Senger moves the runner over, and Lindor gets him in, and it's 10-5 New York.
Well, they still
looked like he expanded his zone in the last inning. 3-2 coming. slapped on the ground, and Acuna is right there, and the ball game is over. 6 straight wins for New York. 4 more RBIs for Pete Alonso. Francisco Lindor with a home run. Clay Holmes gets his first win as a Met, and the Mets roll on a cold, blustery afternoon, 10-5 over Miami.
Their second time they've scored double-digit runs, both of them against the Marlins. 13 hits. Lindor with the home run. Again, Pete now with a big start. 4 RBI day. Nimmo got a big 2-out double. I mean, a 2 RBI double in the 5th that blew the game open. And it's 6 in a row for the Mets, undefeated at home.
Today's win is brought to you by Moo Moo. Download the Moo Moo app, and you could win $1 million if the Mets reach 100 wins this season. Here's your game summary. Alonso with 15 RBIs in the first 11 games. Only John Buck and Jeff Kent have had more in the first 11 games in Mets history. Clay Holmes gets his first win, and it took just over 3 hours for the Mets to go to 8-3 on the season. The Amazing Mets Foundation will contribute.
Here's the 3-1 on the way to Francisco Lindor, and he swings and he hits it high and deep to right field. And I guess you can leave the yard today. Mets get one back just like that.
Well, Kyle, we kind of teed that one up.
Yep.
With the ball's not carrying and Lindor not having a home run yet this year. Well, that all ended there with his first AB.
Upper tank into the right field porch.
It was a cutter, and it was upstairs. Out over the middle of the plate, being aggressive. 3-1.
Well, you mentioned he had 33 long balls last season. Three-2. Then he flies it in the air to shallow right field. Stowers is coming in. Lopez is going out, and that's a fair ball. It hits off the net. Soto's going to score. And it's 2-2.
Another perfect example of how much that wind is pushing the ball from left field to right field. That was an easy out, an easy inning out. That just kept drifting and drifting, and it wound up being about a foot fair.
If that netting wasn't there, that would have been a ground rule double. But that netting is in play. If it hits in fair territory, it bounces up against the netting. That ball's in play. Soto was hustling, and he was off on the pitch. So Alonso has himself a cheap RBI double.
Yeah, if that went
As good as he was last season, he had a hard time throwing strikes. 2-2. That's a broken bat line drive into left field. And that broken bat and the business end of it ends up at the feet of Graham Pauley at third. And a leadoff base hit for the Mets here in the 5th. Here's Francisco Lindor, 13th career leadoff homer in the bottom of the 1st.
Well, I got a 3-1 cutter and just stayed out over the middle of the plate. This went right through the wind. Nothing was stopping that from getting out. His first of the year.
So here is Lindor facing Fauché. And there's a ground ball hit softly. It's off the mid of Mervis, and everybody's going to be safe. That'll probably be the second error of the ball game committed by Miami, and that one could be costly. Here comes Soto with 2 aboard and nobody out. Unless they say that that's not ordinary routine effort.
Well, it should have been a routine play. You watch Mervis as he breaks. He's thinking second all the way. He's got to get it on that short hop, and looks like he might have closed his glove early. You're not going to get Lindor at first. You're not going to double him up. You want to try to get that lead runner.
Yeah, they do go error. E3. First of the 8th pitch to Alonso is low, ball 4. He didn't go. And the Mets have him loaded for Nimmo. And Lindor finally got to take second. You know,
you're hoping that if O'Shea can keep the ball down, something cutter in, cut something down that you can get a ground ball that's not hit too hard.
They're in on the grass, and Nimmo swings, and he drives it out towards the gap in left center field. This is going to get over the head of Cohen and hit up against the wall. Lindor is on the heels of Senger. There will be no throw to the plate. It's a 2-run opposite field double for Brandon Nimmo, and the Mets have their first lead of the afternoon. Boy, Lindor read that thing well. Senger wanted to make sure. And reading it even better was Alonso, who was on the heels of Lindor, which you don't say very often.
Well, that was a sweeper. As a cement mixer, didn't do anything, didn't have any kind of bite to it. And the only way to cut through that wind are line drives. That wasn't in the air too high to be able to hang up. That got over the head of Cohen quickly.
Into existence. 1-2. That's punched in the air, shallow right field. Lopez dives, he can't get it. That's going to plate 2 more. Little jam shot into right for Marte, the former Marlin, at 6-2.
Now, the tough parts about baseball, you make a decent pitch and it just gets out of the reach of Lopez over there at second. You watch this, he's made some great plays this year, and he's about a foot short of making another one. A little jam shot.
And now the 3-1. Beatty swings and he grounds it towards third. Here's a long throw to first, and Mervis can't pick it. Kind of a do or die play for Graham Pauley, and it was an in-between hop for Mervis.
Well, Beatty runs decently. Again, getting aggressive on some hitters that aren't doing very well. Vanto swinging on a 3-0, and then a 3-1 swing here by Beatty. A good throw, you may get him here. Maybe not.
It was an off-balance throw headed towards that third base dugout. Really not a whole lot Pauley could do. Did everything he could do. And then Mervis got caught in between and nearly caught the lip of the grass. And Brett Beatty will take a hit. And now Luis Angel Acuna is going to run for him at first. So the Mets will shore up their defense later in this game, as Senger pushes a beautiful bunt towards first. And here's a soft throw to first, and they just got him by a half a step. I don't know how Liam Hicks did it, but that was incredibly impressive.
Well, Curry and Hicks got mixed up at who was going to field this ball. Probably an easier play for Curry because he's coming in. He could have barehanded it and made the throw. A tougher play for the catcher.
He might be safe, Nelly.
That was a heck of a play by Hicks.
Looked out in real time, but the Mets were quick to say, let's take a look. There's Carlos Mendoza.
New York is challenging the out call at first base.
It's the crew chief, Adrian Johnson. Let's take a look.
Well, watch this. You look at this play. It's an easier play for Curry. You got to call the catcher off. You could have barehanded this and had an easier throw.
Oh, he's safe. He's safe.
Yeah, he may be.
Yeah, he's safe. That probably won't take all that long.
No. I mean, it's probably going to wind up being a hit as well.
Yeah. So it's going to be back-to-back
After
hits.
review, call on the field is overturned. The runner is safe. New York retains their challenge.
Derek Hill.
And they're going to intentionally walk Juan Soto to load the bases and set up a double play, although it was in order. But as hot as he's been, how about this decision? We'd rather face Alonso, who is scorching hot to start the season, and he's 1 for 2 today with an RBI double, a walk and a run scored. And he's already got a grand slam against the Marlins this year.
Well, it's not a bad idea. I don't mind that call. The only thing that I wish is that if you're going to intentionally walk Soto, do it while Curry's out on the mound. You know, now that you can automatically do it, it's a little bit easier, but
94
have to get up and then taking him out.
Now, the one thing that surprises me, the infield doesn't have to be in like they are up the middle with Alonso at the plate. He doesn't run well, and he swings and he laces one towards the gap in left center field. That might clear. Alonso unloads him with a 3-run double, and I think it really chapped his backside that they walked Soto in front of him.
Well, Alonso has hurt the Marlins this year, and this is what, the 3rd or 4th time he's done it. A fastball right down the middle of the plate, and he crushes this into the left center field gap. Just as the Marlins fight back in the top of the 6th, they give it right back in the bottom half.
Yeah. Well, that's unfortunate. And Lindor swings and he drives it in the air to deep center field. This is a little bit more of the routine variety for Derek Hill. That'll plate Acuna from 3rd. A sacrifice fly for Lindor. It's 10-5. You know, he introduced My Girl last summer, and it really caught on with the fan base amongst a variety of other things that caught on here in New York last year with the Mets. But
yeah, good pitch to lay off of. Garrett has some really good stuff. One of their high leverage relievers out of that Met bullpen.
And now the payoff from Garrett. That's a ground ball to second. And that'll do it. Mets have won the series. They've won 6 in a row and 7 of 8. And they've won 4 of 5 from the Marlins to begin the season. On a cold, blistery Tuesday afternoon here in New York City. Total time of game, 3 hours and 3 minutes. 28,861 on hand to take this one in here today.
Yeah, tough day overall for the Marlins. Tough day to play in this cold weather. Holmes was pretty decent, even though he gave up those 4 runs, but tough day by the pitching staff. And you mentioned, Kyle, some mistakes in the field by the Marlins. You know, some didn't even show up as errors that wind up costing them. Those 7 runs in that 6th and 7th inning was really tough. That was the backbreaker, or the 5th and 6th. That was the backbreaker for the Marlins.
All right, Nelly, I'll see you tomorrow. Marlins fall to under 500 for the first time this season. We'll be back to wrap it up from Citi Field after this.